I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star. And this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and uncomfortable that I got screamed at. And I would cry walking off set. This person would literally look at me in front of the whole crew and say, "You call yourself an actor. This is what I have to work with. What is this?" And I stood there just breaking. This happens. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. So no one had my back. And I remember the next day I walked on and I said, "You get off my set." This is the first time I've ever spoken. I remember being so scared. And I looked at this person and I said, "You can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to see you again." And then I remember the producers came up and said, "You can't do this to number one. We have to let this person be on set." And I said, "But the person can turn around and I can act to the back."
CBS is joining forces to reveal Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and the claims are spinning out of control. The Deadpool and Wolverine teams are now piling on, criticizing Ryan for what they describe as his smothering control on set, where cast and crew say he steamrolled projects with a toxic my way or no way attitude. Fans are calling it shameless, a betrayal of Hollywood loyalty, while Blake's own history is coming back hard with evidence pointing to 2018, when she was only expected to act in The Husband's Secret, yet somehow ended up with an executive producer title. Going back further, smaller creators from as early as 2014 say she took advantage of their designs and vanished once she got what she wanted. Suddenly, the polished image of the funny husband and classy wife is falling apart. Whispers suggest Netflix could easily spin their saga into a true crime docuseries, because while Blake and Ryan were selling wholesome vibes, they were allegedly scheming, stealing work, making empty promises, and running the business like a manipulative pair straight out of a toxic thriller. And if you thought the fight with Justin Baldoni was messy, that was only the preview. What is unfolding now looks far worse. Proof is flooding in from creatives, insiders, and even supposed friends, all showing the same dark picture of a power-obsessed couple using their status to grab whatever they want at any cost. Hollywood's golden pair might actually be its most calculated scammers, and the timing could not be worse, because the spotlight is now burning too hot to dodge. So grab your snacks, mute your alerts, and get ready to dive into how the so-called nicest couple in Hollywood ended up exposed in one of its wildest scandals yet.
Instagram followers have dropped from 45.2 million to 44.9 million since the 17th of January.
You might be surprised to learn Blake's pattern of questionable moves goes way back. Let's roll back to 2014. While some of you were still hooked on Paw Patrol, Blake rolled out Preserve, a cringe-worthy lifestyle website pushing overpriced candles, clumsy rustic decorations, and random handmade knickknacks nobody ever wanted.
Blake Lively's career is not this moment. It's not even this moment. Not saying something because this movie got a 5 on Rotten Tomatoes out of 100. The biggest stumble in Blake's career was this. And I'm going to need you to watch the first 10 seconds of the intro video. Just tell me, ballpark, what you think it's about, because you're not going to guess it. Preserve was Blake Lively's attempt.
Articles trying to break down Preserve never really added up at its core. It was basically a brand pushing overpriced hipster trinkets to millennials dressed up as some kind of lifestyle movement. Unsurprisingly, the site crashed in 2015. Blake later claimed it failed because it was too ahead of its time and launched too early. But the evidence points to something else. Word spread that she allegedly requested samples from small creators under fake names, copied their designs nearly exactly, and then ditched the original artists like they were invisible. So instead of being too innovative for its era, it looks like Preserve was doomed from shady behavior right from the beginning.
Will take down Preserve on October 9th. Blake launched the site in July 2014, but tells Vogue she doesn't want to continue with something that her and her team are, quote, not proud of. She goes on to explain, quote, "We launched the site before it was ready, and it never caught up to its original mission. It's not making a difference in people's lives, whether superficially or...
And just when you thought Blake's grabby habits only hit Etsy shops, here comes a twist. There's also a script controversy. This one never fully exploded in mainstream gossip. So take it lightly back. In 2017, Blake was lined up to star in the CBS Films thriller The Husband's Secret. Around that same time, an indie screenwriter went online claiming her script had been floating through Hollywood for years and somehow came back. Reworked into the project, Blake was suddenly front and center of big outlets like Deadline, Variety, and The Hollywood Reporter stayed silent, probably because back then questioning a lister's was practically off limits. Still, the whispers wouldn't go away. Then an old interview clip resurfaced where Blake casually bragged about taking over projects from directors and producers like it was some kind of flex messy. And just to confirm, Blake wasn't only starring in The Husband's Secret, she also locked in the role of executive producer. Now in Hollywood, that title usually doesn't mean someone is grinding in the editing bay. It just looks good on paper and boosts the portfolio even without solid proof the whole situation fit the narrative people had been eyeing for years. Blake shining off the backs of other people's work. That same pattern was loud on the Gossip Girl set. Her first target was Penn Badgley. Word is Blake made sure Penn got pushed aside from the start, not because he did anything wrong, but because she didn't vibe with him. She allegedly whispered behind the scenes, painting him as difficult before he even had a chance to fit in. For weeks, the cast treated Penn with suspicion until they realized he was actually easygoing. But by then, the damage was done. The ultimate irony: Blake and Penn dated for 3 years before she left him and jumped straight to Ryan Reynolds. So whether it's scripts co-stars or indie creators, Blake's history of stepping on others to boost herself keeps coming back around.
What Lively loves to do is tell on herself. So in a newly resurfaced interview from 2009 in Glamour magazine, Blake Lively opened up about how she tried to poison the cast of Gossip Girl against Penn Badgley. So we now know that she had Mr. Armie Hammertime fired from Gossip Girl after just 4 episodes, and now it appears she tried to do the same thing to Penn Badgley. Apparently she wasn't too pleased with Mr. Badgley when he was first cast. She didn't like the choice, so she tried to taint the rest of the cast against him, but once they realized what a good guy he was, she realized that she lost.
But here's where it gets even more chaotic. After Blake married Ryan Reynolds and suddenly had producers wrapped around her finger, Penn Badgley's career mysteriously started sinking. Word around Hollywood is that plenty of insiders quietly blacklisted him simply because Blake wasn't cool with him anymore. And doesn't that sound familiar? It should, because fans believe the same thing happened with Justin Baldoni during the It Ends With Us mess. After Justin leaked those heated messages from Blake, the internet instantly started connecting the dots. Many are convinced Blake may have caught feelings for him, and when he didn't return the vibe, she started acting like a bitter ex on set. Just like Penn got pushed out on Gossip Girl, Justin seemed to get frozen out by his own team. And the fallout didn't stop there. Blake's It Ends With Us co-stars, including Brandon Sklenar and even author Colleen Hoover, have been quietly stepping back, allegedly realizing Blake may have been playing them too. And if you missed it, I already broke down Penn Badgley calling out Blake for wrecking his career, so check that out. But for now, let's switch lanes, because if you think Penn had it tough, wait until you hear how Blake did Leighton Meester dirty. On screen, they sold us sisterhood goals, but off screen their vibe was pure oil and water.
An article recently saying that Leighton and I were frenemies. And it's
Frenemies, is that frenemies?
Yeah, we're friends, but we're also enemies. And it's they see our characters on the show, and they want that to be true in a sense. I think they want everybody's characters in real life to emulate that. And it's really strange because they always want to pit women against each other. You don't hear about like Penn and Chase hating each other and being jealous and competitive. So it's very silly. But we all do get along.
One thing about Blake, she never skips an opportunity to play the gender card. According to executive producer Joshua Safran, Blake and Leighton were friends, but not friendly, which in Hollywood terms means they could hardly stand each other. And honestly, their painfully awkward press interviews made the tension crystal clear.
More sense when you're watching a show that there's not an obvious choice between good and evil. So she would seem like the obvious choice, but she's also got flaws as well. But I think I'm just brunette because of the books.
And everyone knows blondes are nicer anyway.
Oh, over there.
Moment by me.
Then there's Armie Hammer, who played Gabriel on Gossip Girl, and subtly but pretty clearly hinted that Blake was the real reason he bailed on the show early, and honestly at this point, who's even shocked.
Let me just say, that was a tough show to film, and I didn't end up actually filming all of the episodes I was supposed to because it was such a tough film.
Really? Literally, you said, get me out of this.
It was also like, get him out of here.
Really?
Yeah.
So it just literally was that. Whose love interest were you?
I was Blake Lively's love interest.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay, well
Sounds
then,
like she was the problem.
It sure does.
And speaking of Blake's peak diva moments, we have to bring up her feud with Anna Kendrick, because that was a full-on circus during their A Simple Favor press tour. The tension was so heady you could cut it with a butter knife. One producer even admitted Blake was a nightmare to work with, but of course Blake spun it around and accused Anna of stealing the spotlight during promotions, while fans were just like, girl, please.
Like a few times through Ryan on that film. And, and thought she seemed nice, and little did I know.
Yeah. Look at the body language experts analyzing this right now. How quickly do you...
Don't touch me.
If you want the full story on how Anna Kendrick shut Blake down, make sure to check out my deep dive video. But for now, just know this: what I've shown so far is only a small sample of the proof that Blake's bad attitude has been obvious for years. And believe me, this isn't even the messy part. Blake's skeletons are spilling out all over the place. But don't get it twisted, Ryan's closet is just as packed, from sneaky Hollywood power plays to shady business deals. The proof is out there, and some of your faves who kept quiet for years are finally speaking up. And let me give you a heads up, by the time we're done, you'll be stunned.
That's really interesting. A lot of them are just not looking at him at all, even though he's standing and spraying. That's really interesting. And
First up, let's talk about Tim Miller, the original director of Deadpool. He went on record saying he left the project because of Ryan Reynolds, and his version paints Ryan in a very different light. While most people see Ryan as this goofy, lovable guy, Tim says behind the scenes he was controlling beyond reason. According to industry buzz, Ryan wanted total control over Deadpool, the scripts, the scenes, even the whole tone. And Tim was basically expected to just sit back and agree the moment Tim pushed back. Ryan made it clear it was his way or no way. Eventually, Tim walked away, later telling Mental Health magazine he didn't mind debating, but if he couldn't win, he didn't want to play, and that you can't negotiate every creative choice since there are too many. Ryan was the face of the franchise, the biggest piece by far. So if he wanted control, he was going to take it. And he wasn't the only one who had enough. TJ Miller, who played Weasel in Deadpool, shared his own rough experience, and since TJ is known for speaking his mind, he didn't just leave quietly. He made sure everyone knew Ryan was the reason he wouldn't return. TJ even said he'd rather skip another massive Marvel paycheck than deal with Ryan's energy again. That's how bad it was.
After he got super, super famous from the first Deadpool, then things kind of changed. I think he was like, see, you guys see? And then I think I don't know. I mean, would I work with him again? No.
No.
I would not work with him that much.
According to TJ, Ryan didn't just mess with him in some playful on-set banter way. He treated him like pure trash, straight-up humiliation with no joke behind it. TJ says he never even understood why Ryan targeted him, especially since he was just a side character. But after looking back, TJ realized it all came down to Ryan's ego. He needed everyone to be reminded exactly who the biggest star in the room was.
Everybody was like, why is Ryan doing this? And the other weird thing is, like, maybe he got, I think he's kind of an insecure dude. He's really nice, but I mean, his Twitter bio is showing you the parts of me that tested the best in focus groups.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure that he's.
And if you thought Ryan's problems only showed up with the guys, think again, because even his leading lady wasn't safe. Morena Baccarin, who played Vanessa, Deadpool's love interest, went from being front and center in the first movie to practically invisible in the sequel. And no, that wasn't just some random creative call. Word is her real-life fallout with Ryan had everything to do with it. Apparently, things behind the scenes got messy, and After that, Morena didn't just lose screen time, she got iced. Out completely. Nobody has dropped solid proof on what started the drama, but rumors point to two angles. Either she pushed back on her shrinking role, or she clashed with Ryan over jokes she didn't vibe with. Either way, going against Ryan inside his franchise looks like the fastest way to get ghosted. The proof shows up in the promo trail too. When Deadpool and Wolverine started trending, Morena was totally missing. She didn't appear in the cast, promos, and at the big premiere, she stood alone while everyone else posed with Ryan. That silence was loud. Honestly, the whole thing feels like Major Blake, Lively, Justin Baldoni. It ends with us energy. When a power couple runs the show, you either play along or get pushed out.
Like a pattern is emerging, as I found this blind item from July of 2024 stating that Ryan Reynolds completely iced out his co-star, Morena Baccarin, I think it is, and she was not included in any of the promotion for Deadpool and Wolverine. And when you think back to it, yeah, she wasn't. And if you look at the red carpet photos, she's pictured all alone by herself, not with any of the other cast. Just like what Blake did to Justin. So I wonder what the disagreement was there. I wonder if she was questioning some of the jokes in the movie. And of course, Ryan's ego couldn't take it. I'm sure there's some ironclad NDA in there. We'll never know what happened. But the promos and the videos don't lie. She wasn't in any of them with the cast. She was all alone by herself. I'm just hoping she wasn't sent to the...
Ryan's rough behavior didn't stop with his Deadpool cast. Apparently, reality TV stars got a dose too. And they didn't hold back during an appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. The Jersey Shore crew got hit with that classic messy question, who's the rudest celeb you've ever met? Usually people dodge it, laugh it off, or act like every star is perfect. But not this time. Sammy tried to stay quiet at first, but before she could even react, Dina went totally unfiltered and straight up dropped the name Ryan Reynolds.
Celebrity Sammy was saying,
So me and Sam had our separate thing.
he's a national treasure.
And I love him. I truly love him. I love his wife. I love his wife.
But he was fruit.
Who? Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
Was not great to us.
Oh, was Ryan?
Oh no! I love.
Dina tried to soften it by saying he wasn't great to us, but I still love Ryan and Blake. But let's be honest, once you have to say that the damage is already done, Sammy jumped in to smooth things over, suggesting maybe Ryan was just having a bad day. She doubled down on the I love Ryan, I love Blake defense, but then admitted he didn't even want to be around them. Bottom line, Ryan's nice guy image might work for Instagram captions, but behind the scenes, not everyone is convinced. And it's not just reality stars giving him the side. Rising A-listers have their own scars. Some won't even risk name dropping, preferring to tell horror stories and let the internet connect the dots. Case in point, Rebecca Ferguson. She opened up about a nightmare co-star who made her life hell on set. She didn't need to say the name the way she described. It was messy enough. This person was drowning in insecurity, couldn't even get their lines right. And instead of owning their mistakes, they lashed out at Rebecca, screaming at her in front of the whole crew, calling her a trash actor like it was casual small talk. Rebecca admitted she left the set in tears, shaken. But here's the twist. She fought back one day after reaching her breaking point. She looked this person in the eye and told them to get off her set. She even said she'd rather act with a tennis ball than deal with their dusty energy. That's how toxic it got.
Film with an absolute idiot of a co-star. And this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and uncomfortable that I got screamed at. And I would cry walking off set. This person would literally look at me in front of the whole crew and say, "You call yourself an actor, this is what I have to work with. What is this?" And I stood there just breaking. This happens. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. So no one had my back. And I remember the next day I walked on and I said, "You get off my set." This is the first time I've ever spoken. I remember being so scared. And I looked at this person and I said, "You can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to see you again." And then I remember the producers came up and said, "You can't do this to number one. We have to let this person be on set." And I said, "But the person can turn around and I can act to the back."
While the way Rebecca Ferguson took her power back was nothing short of iconic. After she shared her story, Hollywood lit up The Rock, jumped in to show love, and even some of her past co-stars reached out like, "Girl, we knew you were dealing with something." But this is wild. Rebecca never dropped a name, but she made it clear it wasn't Tom Cruise or Hugh Jackman still fans with receipts, and long memories haven't ruled out Ryan Reynolds, especially with his growing list of disturbing on-set behavior. But Ferguson isn't the only one stepping out of Ryan's circle. Even his so-called Hollywood buddies have been backing away the biggest shift. Jake Gyllenhaal. Remember when Jake and Ryan were practically inseparable after their movie life? They gave us bromance goals with press tours, red carpets, and goofy interviews, but now it's total silence. And for someone as loyal as Jake, the fact that he's ignoring Ryan's existence screams something went bad behind the scenes. And honestly, the awkward vibes between Ryan and Jake are just the surface. Ryan's Hollywood track record is full of red flags. Directors and producers openly say they're wary of working with him. Word is Ryan bulldozes over creative limits and turns every project into the Ryan Reynolds show, whether people want it or not. Even Quentin Tarantino couldn't resist chiming in. And let's be real, Quentin never bites his tongue when asked about Ryan's Netflix films he dragged him, saying, apparently for Netflix, Ryan Reynolds has made $50 million on this movie and $50 million on that movie and $50 million on the next one. But I don't know what any of those movies are. I've never seen them. Have you? They don't exist in the culture. It's like they don't exist at all. Harsh. And Quentin wasn't alone when Ryan tried rebooting Home Alone as a stoner comedy called Stoned Alone. Original director Chris Columbus called the idea disrespectful and an insult to cinema. Translation: Ryan, sit down, rewatch the original, and leave the classics alone. Even other actors are throwing shade. When Gerard Butler was asked about Ryan's Free Guy, he compared it to his own movie Gamer and casually dropped, I don't watch Ryan Reynolds movies, period. And it doesn't stop on set. That same insecure, controlling vibe has allegedly bled into Ryan's love life too. Just ask his ex-wife, Scarlett Johansson. Their marriage ended right when her career skyrocketed with Iron Man 2 and the Avengers over the years. She's been careful with her words, but the little she has shared says a lot. Scarlett once admitted there will always be a more successful person in a marriage, but Ryan never wanted to be the less successful one. Translation: he couldn't handle her glow up. And if you've been keeping track, this insecure label isn't coming from one corner. It's showing up everywhere. Co-stars, directors, producers, even exes. At some point, when the same story keeps coming from different sides of Hollywood, you have to ask, can they all be wrong? Which brings us right back to the power couple on paper, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Sure, they've got the Instagram banter, the red carpet smiles, and the funny husband, classy wife branding down. But behind the curtain, the math doesn't add up. From shady career moves and stolen spotlights to rocky relationships and controlling energy, the cracks are showing fast. Hollywood isn't looking away anymore. The proof is stacking. The whispers are louder, and the so-called A-list couple is giving less goals and more red flags. So what do you think? Is this the beginning of the end for Ryan and Blake's carefully built empire, or just another messy Hollywood phase? They'll try to meme their way out of. Drop your thoughts below, because this tea is still boiling hot. And if you missed it, go check my deep dives, one on how Penn Badgley called out Blake for ruining his career, and another on how Anna Kendrick shut Blake down during their press tour drama. Click one and keep this saga rolling, because trust me, the story is only getting messy.